I'm involved recently with a group called Core Change in Cincinnati, and we're trying to have Cincinnati become a city that is a good place to live and work for everyone. And we're looking at key polarities that show up there. And so this is transforming that language of part whole. And notice what we've got here. It's in the upper left quadrant, upside of the part. It's abundant blank for some. It could be education, it could be healthcare. I've just underlined healthcare here because this is the arena I'm in right now, today. But it could be education, could be healthcare, could be jobs, food, shelter, safety, and opportunities and empowerment. When you focus on the whole pole, you have basic education, basic healthcare, basic jobs, basic food, basic shelter, and basic safety for everyone. The assumption from an either-or perspective is if you allow for abundance for some, you can't really provide basics for all. Because if you provide basics for all, you're going to lose the abundance dimension. If we believe that to provide the basics for all, we will lose abundance, is not going to happen. So you have to, but that either-or proposition sets us up for not being able to access the basics for all, basic health care. When Hillary Clinton first promoted, this basic health care notion during the first Clinton administration, she got pretty well beat up, right? Well, and what happened was she was talking about the upside of the whole pole and saying, look, we have just gross inequality and access to health care. We need to provide that for everyone. When she suggested that, it triggered the legitimate fear, oh, wait a minute, I'm not going to be able to, the loss of freedom. I'm not going to be able to see the doctor I want to see. I'm going to lose specialized health care. We're not going to be able to get the abundance that I've come accustomed to, right? But if you see it as a polarity, then I'm suggesting you have a different process and you're more likely to get to the basics for some, as long as you can guarantee abundance, basics for all, as long as you can guarantee abundance for some. And I think you can. This came up when we were talking with Core Change. What are some key underlying issues that need to be addressed with if we're trying to address chronic poverty in Cincinnati? And one of them is this assumption that if we do a good job of addressing chronic poverty, that the abundance folks are going to lose out on their abundance. But it doesn't have to be true. So that's another application there. So another application showed up. I was at attending the White Privilege Conference, which I encourage you to look up and attend if you ever have a chance. And John Powell was there presenting a summary of his book, Racing to Justice, Transforming Our Conceptions of Self and Other, notice the polarity, self and other, to build an inclusive society. And one of the things he talks about in his book is targeted universalism. Now we got another language, targeted universalism. Let me back up here a second. I'll show you how that works. So there's some people here who have glasses that can't see this screen without your glasses. A couple people. Okay, would you take your glasses off, please? Okay, now I've supposedly made the playing field equal. It's universal. So now I'd like you to to proceed to read this book and give me the results, or to even read the comments at the top of the screen, and then we'll test you on it. Notice what happens here. We've had a universal focus under the guise of equality, we're treating everybody the same. What we have failed to do is recognize that, no, some people need glasses. We need to target people, look at what each individual needs to support them in reading this book. If you need glasses, then we need to get you glasses. And it's not just any kind of glasses, it's glasses that relate to your particular vision. Are you nearsighted, farsighted? Do you have astigmatism? Well, this is favoritism. Some people are getting glasses. I'm not getting any glasses. Well, the reason I'm not getting glasses is because I don't need glasses. Right? So I don't have to complain because somebody's spending some money to check you out to see if you need glasses and to contribute to something that allows you to have glasses, because I'm interested in you and me both being able to read this book. So it's called targeted individualism, but notice how it's another way to talk about the part-whole polarity. Do we respond to the unique needs of people, or do we treat people equally? The answer is yes. Yeah? So this is the way it shows up. We get targeted universalism, and in his book, so we got the part here is targeted for the part, and the whole for universalism. And his whole greater purpose in his book is an inclusive society. And the deeper fear would be the exclusion of some. So what we want is everyone gets access to the book. That's universalism. However, those who need glasses don't get them if we just focus on the books and everybody getting the books. The question is, now we need to target those who need glasses get them. Now, we're not saying that only those who get glasses get access to the book. What we're doing is letting everybody have the book and those who need glasses get them. So this is a way to deal with the part-whole polarity. This relates to affirmative action if it hasn't been obvious already, right? Well, we can't do that because it's singling people out and responding to them uniquely. Well, of course we're singling them out, responding to them uniquely. You know, they've been singled out for 200 years and responded to uniquely. So sometime we have to just pay attention to this history, and somehow, you know, it relates to, of course we want to have the equality, but we also need to pay attention to uniqueness, which includes history. Okay, so how does this get applied, this thing with the glasses and targeted universalism? I was working with a group of young men, a couple of ex-offenders who were out of prison, a guy who used to, as a gang leader, used to be the #1 drug dealer in a section of Cincinnati. All of them that's in their past, and now they're back in this neighborhood, trying to help other young men and women like themselves who are in trouble. And when I asked them, I'm trying to bring a polarity lens to this discussion, right? And I said, so what are some of the big issues that you're dealing with? And they said the biggest issue is that we send people to the basic universal job program that's provided for everyone in the city. It's a good job program, but when we send our young men to that program, they never get jobs. They don't even complete the program. They need some special attention and support just to be able to take advantage of what's available. They need glasses. See what I mean? It's like, so when I was talking with them, we said, well, we need to write up a proposal in which we get this special support to take care of the unique needs, for this targeted audience, while we're trying to make sure that everybody has access to a job in Cincinnati. So this is another way in which it shows up. And so this all happened, this whole conversation and this beginning of this map happened in an hour and a half with these young men, in this low-income neighborhood. So the access to polarities can be very quick. They're just right there for us to leverage. So a final thing I'd like to share with you is about what we call the part-whole energy chain, and then we're going to give you a chance to ask some questions. What we have here is, if you can see it, it's the part-whole energy chain. The left-hand side of this column is looking at the part. The right-hand side is looking at the whole. So if you look at the bottom, and right at the bottom here, it says individual and team. But if you do a good job of that, you have an effective team, but now the team becomes the part, and the organization becomes the whole. And then you've got the organization becoming a part, and the community becomes the whole. Then the community becomes a part, and the country is the whole. And then the country is a part of humanity. Humanity is a part of all of nature. And then nature is a part of a whole dimension, expansive dimension of what we might call spirit, right? That we learned from our Native American brothers and sisters, right? So it's like there's this whole energy chain. And what I'm suggesting in terms of the part-whole polarity and those elements that we talked about show up in every level of this chain. So it's always in the long-term interests of each part, or each pole, to take care of both poles. So it's always in the interest of the one part of the family to take care of the family, and of the family to take care of the individual members of the family, right? So this is that general axiom. So when I work with organizations, and capitalism tends to focus on the organization, so my consulting a lot of times is working right with this part of, notice what's missing in this chain. When I go to work with General Motors, I think it's all about General Motors. Well, it is about General Motors, but it's about a lot more. Conscious capitalism is saying, actually, we need to pay attention as an organization. What about the people inside our organization, the individuals, the teams? What about the community in which we sit? What about the country in which we function? Do we pay our taxes, or do we try to hide it someplace? What about humanity? What about the other people on the planet? This is especially true when we show multinationals. And what about nature? Are we dropping stuff into our water system or not? You know, and then the whole dimension of spirit and accessibility. So you can see how this shows up when we work at the individual level. Some of you might do individual coaching, right? If you're working with an individual person, actually that individual is not just about them. It's about them in relation to the team, them in relation to the organization, them in relation to their community, to the environment, because each of us has a role to play in interface with each of those, right? So like we have access to all of that. Now, when I work with the U.S. government, and I've had the privilege to do that in a number of settings, primarily with the military, but with some others as well, the message is, of course, it's about wanting the United States to be proud and the United States to continue to enhance its capacity to serve its people. And it's about more than that. So if you really want the United States to be safe and successful, you need to see how the United States needs to pay attention to its community, to the organizations within its community, to individuals and teams, and what's the relationship between the United States and the rest of the planet,